get them answered at the end by raising the virtual chat, or also raising your hand or typing in the virtual chat. So we would love to hear from you. Anything general, anything more individual about your student, your child, you can definitely email Mrs. Liptak and myself and be more than happy to get back to you. We also wanted to let you know that this meeting is being recorded. So any question, or if you at the end unmute, your voice will be on. So this is a recorded presentation, and that's there just in case someone's missing the presentation. So please, we just welcome you again. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful evening. And then we're going to talk a little bit about scheduling. So I'm going to let Mrs. Liptak go ahead and start.
Good evening. Welcome, everybody. Hopefully at this point, you guys have all had a chance to watch the videos that we sent out to the students. And really this virtual meeting right here is just to really reiterate what was in those videos, and then to see if it sparks any questions. And if there are questions, like Mrs. Shakora Lewis said, we'll go ahead and take those at the end. And so today we're just really going to focus on the scheduling information for our students who are currently in person, and then also our students who are currently on our cyber platform through Edgenuity. They're very similar. It's a very similar process for both sets of students, but we just want to let everybody know what will happen. And then also the program of studies. So if you haven't had an opportunity to go ahead and jump on our website and look through the program of studies, I would highly recommend you go ahead and do that. And then Mr. Harrigan went ahead and put that right there in the chat if you needed to look at it. It was so kind of him. The program of studies will just really help you navigate through choosing courses. So it will allow you to see what courses your students would be able to take in each course level, and then also not just the core courses, but the elective courses as well. So as your student is navigating through the selection of courses, we just want to remind everybody about credits. So every single year, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, all students have to be scheduled for at least 7 credits per year. Seniors do need to be scheduled for 7 credits. There are 2 exceptions though, the work release and the dual enrollment. And we'll go ahead and talk to you about those 2 factors a little bit later in the presentation. And then when we're calculating credits, a full year course would equal 1 credit. And then a semester course would equal a half a credit. So typically the semester courses, we'll put them in the same period throughout the day to get that 1 credit for you. And just an overview of requirements for graduation. So in order for a student to be eligible for a diploma, they do have to complete a total of 25.25 credits. So there's that cute little 0.25, and that is our online health. And then, like we said previously, 7 credits per year. So in order for a student to advance from 9th to 10th grade, they do have to successfully complete 6 credits. And then to advance from 10th to 11th, they need 12 credits. And then 11th to 12th, they need 18 credits to advance. And when we discuss early release, we'll just remind you of this. If a senior is interested in doing the early release program, they do need to complete at least 20 credits by the end of their junior year in order to do so.
I'm going to touch base on the summary of minimum requirements. So detailing what we need in each area. So for English, students need to have completed 4 credits of English, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. Social studies, again, 4 credits must be completed, and they must include the civics in 9th grade, the Westerns, and the U.S. history. Their senior year, they have some more flexibility as to some of the courses that they can take. Still Center students that have begun the Still Center coursework in 10th grade and carried it out through 11th and 12th, they only need 3 years of social studies to graduate. Math, 3 credits are required. It must include an algebra and a geometry course. Science, 3 credits again, and it must include biology. Mrs. Liptak talked a little bit about the health, the online health. That is that 0.25 credit, and it is an online course done completely online. It's trying to just familiarize students with an online class. And then PE is 1 credit. We really want students to take it their 9th grade year and then also their 10th grade year. And then that credit is out of the way. That opens up for other electives or other courses that they may want to take. Computer app with personal finance, that's a half credit, and that is a required course that should be taken in their 9th grade year. If it is not, then we can make sure that it's scheduled for their 10th grade year. College and career is a wonderful course. It's a semester course students usually take in their junior year. And it talks about college and career planning, post-secondary planning, trade school, finances. It is a wonderful class. And then the rest of the credits comprise electives, and that will total the 25 credit requirement. When we're scheduling, when we're beginning the process and we're thinking about looking at the program of studies and thinking about what we need to write on our course request sheet, we have to understand first, as Mrs. Liptak talked about the credit classification. So we need those 7 credits. So we have to think our core courses are usually the year-long courses, and that will be 1 credit. Your semester courses are usually your elective courses. Now, there are some cores that are semester, but then they're half a credit. So make sure when you're totaling everything up, you're counting to 7 credits with the 1 long full year and then the half credit courses. We also have to think about something very important is course levels that we have at the high school to make sure that we are being in a class that is appropriate for our academic level. We don't want to stretch too much, and we don't want to go down that it's not a challenge. We just want to be in the appropriate placement. So it's a nice reminder of the different course levels that we have. So at the high school, we offer a general course. This is more of a foundational course, more of a remediation. It's usually co-taught. There's 2 teachers there, just really reinforcing concepts. This course, the general courses, though, they are not approved by NCAA. So if you're thinking collegiate sports at a D1 or D2 level, these courses will not qualify. So we have to be thinking about that. College preparatory courses are where most of our students are. It's a course that is preparing a student for post-secondary planning, whether it be a 4-year institution, a 2-year institution, the CCAC, or trade and technical, or in the workforce. This is where most of our students are. Honors course is a more rigorous, another rigorous level, more independent learning, outside learning, summer work, and it's starting to move at a quicker pace as honors courses getting through material. And then, of course, we have the highest level, which would be our AP courses. Our first AP course is introduced to our 10th grade students, AP European History. The most rigorous course that we offer. It is a college level course. The pacing is very quick, very much expected in the class, outside of the class, readings and writings. The student has to dedicate a large amount of time with this level of courses. And they're preparing themselves to take the AP exams in May so that they can attain college credit. But those course levels really have to be thought about. And what's nice, and we're going to talk about this later on, is that the teachers have recommended the students for what they feel is appropriate based on semester grades, based on their recommendations. Okay, so we'll move up. Prerequisites. That's what we're going to talk about next. That goes along with these courses. So each level has a prerequisite except the general level. So a prerequisite, all of them can be found in the program of studies for each class. And even some of the electives have, like your Spanish class or your German class, they may have prerequisites associated with that course. So again, it's important to see where you fit. And remember, those prerequisites are not put in place to stop a student from taking a course that they want. They're put in place as a safety, as a guide to make the student in the proper placement to be successful. So that's all what we want is academic success for them. So an example of a prerequisite would be for moving, we want to move maybe from English 9 CP to English honors. Well, if I'm in English 9 honors right now, I would just need an 83 to go straight to English 10 honors. If I'm in English 9 CP and I have a 90%, then I can move up to honors. So that's how those prerequisites work. That being said, if your child does not meet the prerequisites for a class, they are able to use a waiver form. We, from the guidance department and the faculty, we do not recommend that students waive into a class against the recommendations of the teacher, because again, as I said before, those prerequisites are their safeties so that students aren't overextending themselves in the class. But we know with this, especially with this year, with different changes, that there might be some things that the students need to be placed in a higher level course, and that's fine. There's one waiver per student per class per year that they can use a waiver form. They're not allowed to waive a course prerequisite. So for example, if I wanted to take honors physics, I could not skip honors chemistry. I could not waive into physics if I did not have honors chemistry or chemistry. So I can't skip a foundational course to move to a subject. But if, say, my honors chemistry grade wasn't high enough to get into honors physics, or my CP Chem grade wasn't high enough to get into honors physics, then I could waive into the course. But just be reminded that if in the waiver process, the student will fill out a form and then submit it to us. And then we look at the rationale that they've provided to see if we'll accept the waiver. But the one thing to really think about is if you waive into a course and you're struggling in that course, we can't move you out to a CP course without putting a 55% on the transcript. So really take those waivers into consideration, really the cost and benefits of the waiver form.
Thank you.
Thank
I'm going
you.
to just go. I'm going to introduce the whole scheduling process. And this slide right here, it just really kind of hits on some of the questions that we sometimes get from parents, and just also kind of shows a little bit of our protocol. So if a student is currently failing a course, we will schedule them into that course for the following year. So for example, if a student is currently failing Algebra 1 and they are freshmen, we'll schedule them into Algebra 1 as a sophomore. Now that student is able to recover that credit during the summer. If the student does recover the credit, then we'll just pull them right out of Algebra 1 as a sophomore, and we'll put them into the appropriate math that they would qualify for at that time. Now, if a student fails 2 or more courses during the school year, they can regain up to 2 credits in the summer, but no more than 2 would be able to be regained. Also, please keep in mind, if a class is if a student does fail a class, the course would be on the transcript twice, but the original course, that grade would be the grade that counts towards the student's GPA. So if the student does fail Algebra 1, that failing grade is on the transcript and calculated into the GPA. The recovered course, it's on there just to show a recovery, but it's not counted into the GPA. And then just to kind of hit on this again, just because we do get a significant amount of questions about this, a student who is a freshman, they do need at least 6 credits to advance to their sophomore year. And then sophomore to junior, they need 12 credits. And then junior to senior, they need at least 18 credits. If a student is wanting to attend our Steel Center program, and they would like to apply for that, they do need to have at least 6 credits to do so. This is probably the #1 question that we get from Steel Center students, is if they are enrolling in Steel Center and are applying for Steel Center, do they still have to choose electives for the meeting with us? And yes, they do. So we do recommend that students still, even if they are thinking Steel Center, to go ahead and choose the 10 electives that they would be interested in, so that when we have the meeting, just in case something happens, they don't get the program that they want, or they just don't want to do Steel Center anymore, we at least have the electives in there and on their schedule just in case.
So the scheduling process we want to talk about, we have really two different areas right now. We have students in person, and then we have a majority of students online in Edgenuity. So first going to talk about the scheduling process for students in person. So the process already started. Mrs. Liptak and I created a video. She mentioned it at the beginning of the presentation. And all the students were able to see it in homeroom. We also were able to go out into the ninth grade history courses. Mr. Rick let us come in and talk to the ninth grade students. So students watched the video. Now it's your turn with your child to look at the program of studies and review it. Then you can take a look and start marking down the English, math, science, social studies, those courses, those course levels, what you think is appropriate. And then when Mrs. Liptak and I meet with your child, then we can discuss the teacher recommendations with them, what the teachers have provided. And all of the teachers have already provided us with the recommendation, what they believe is the most appropriate class or course for your child. And all of these recommendations were based on their semester grades. That's a little notification there. Okay, so then on the back of the scheduling form is the electives, which is so important for the students to really look at and really think about what their interests are and what maybe their career interests are, or in some classes they may just want to try for fun to get some experience. We're asking that they rank those electives from what they want the most. Number one, meaning, oh, I want this class the most. If they're in a foreign language, if they're in band or chorus, those should be like the first or second in priority, ranking from 1 all the way down to 10. And they can rank more, that is fine, but we need at least 1 through 10, because sometimes a student will not be able to get the elective of their choice. Like, for example, the seniors tend to fill up the culinary arts, the understanding children. Those classes go very quickly. So if maybe a rising sophomore is putting down culinary arts as number one or understanding children, they're not going to get that elective. So we need to rank that what they can take. Now, sometimes a core class will conflict with an elective. So that's why we need to have a lot of choices, because Mrs. Liptak and I are going to work very hard on these schedules, and we're going to get every course request in. And once we do that, Dr. Palmer will make the master, and then the schedule will come. And then usually at this time we'd meet with the students again. With the year the way it has been, we're not going to be able to meet with the student twice. So we're really going to depend on those course forms and what the students have told us. See, Mrs. Liptak and I are going to be meeting with the students, and we're going to be going over, they're going to be telling us, okay, this is the elective. We're going to mark it down on our sheet, and that's what's going to get submitted. Now, again, it's very important to pick only electives we're interested in, because there's not going to be any schedule changes. I know we say that, and sometimes we will do a little schedule change, but this year it's not going to be possible to do that. So really make sure that you're picking electives that would be willing to take. And we will change, though, if you do summer school or if you do get accepted into Still Center, we'll take those electives out and put the Still Center course in. Or sometimes in the scheduling process, a bell could be missing, or you could be missing a lunch, and we don't want that. So we'll definitely adjust for that. Now, the scheduling process for our Edgenuity students is basically the same. The video can be found where all the scheduling forms are found online, and watch the video appropriate for either ninth grade or 10th, 11th, and 12th. Same thing, meet with your parents, review the program of studies. Now, here's the difference. When we meet, the Edgenuity grades are not graded first 9 weeks, second 9 weeks, third 9 weeks. Their grade will be the final grade. So we are basing your grade, your scheduling on your tracking right now, your progress. If your progress is on track, we're going to look at that actual grade. See, there's a grade that shows the work that you're doing, and that is every work that you submitted, what your grade is. But then there's also an actual grade that factors in if you're behind and you have zeros. If you're very behind, we'll have to look at that actual grade. So meaning those like red bars where you're supposed to be in your course track, we have to schedule you in for the course that you're currently taking. So really try and work to get this done. But we don't want our Edgenuity students to be concerned that they're going to get scheduled last. That's not true. When we schedule the juniors, we'll schedule the Edgenuity juniors. When we schedule the sophomores and freshmen, same thing. We'll be scheduling our Edgenuity students as well. But for both in-person and Edgenuity, I forgot the most important thing. You have to check your emails, your student emails. That's how Mrs. Litvak and I are going to communicate with you. We're going to be sending information like this is when your appointment's going to be. This is when you're going to meet with us. We'll either do a Google, a Zoom, maybe an in-person. You'll have the form, we'll have the form, but our form will be the final one that gets submitted in. But check that email. You don't want to miss your appointment. Hey, my name is Jacora. Miss Litvak, I have a test that time. I got a test. If you have a test or a presentation, just email us and we'll reschedule. That's not a problem. But make sure you're checking. The same thing with electives 1 through 10, no changes, but we will change for those summer school or Steel Center or if you're missing it. And I wanted to say as well, Edgenuity, if you want to continue on Edgenuity for next year, that will be open as well. You can continue on Edgenuity. We don't have those dates finalized yet when that scheduling process will happen, but Edgenuity will be open again for next year. All right, I think the scheduling forms we talked about, this is where it's housed. Sparks.org, you go onto schools, you go with the high school, you select academics, and then the selected scheduling tab, and everything we talked about is right there. The forms, the waiver, all of those things are listed right there. And here's the form. That's the example. Well, you'll put everything that you want, the English, math, science, social studies. Now, usually you take it to your teacher would put the grade and sign off, but now we have that part. So that form, we'll write all that down and we'll communicate that with you with our meeting. We'll also talk about career plans, GPA, credits already attained on the front part, and then the back is I think what's coming up next, and then that's when your electives will choose those electives. So that kind of only shows a little piece of it. If there's more electives to be shown, and we'll rank order those for you.
Okay, I'm going to jump in and excuse me, go ahead and talk about our Steel Center program. So we have several students that partake in our Steel Center program, and that's our trade and technical program. And students can participate their sophomore, junior, and senior year. And those students are really working in a field to potentially get a certification upon graduation. So if you are able to access your students' video, that lovely little link where it says Steel Center, a Pathway to Success, if you click on that link within the video, it will take you to a really nice video that Steel Center put together. And it just gives you a little bit more information about all the programs that they offer and how to apply and everything about Steel Center. Our Steel Center students do attend the program 5 days a week, and they are at the high school in the morning up until C period lunch. So they eat lunch during C period, and then they leave right at the end of it. So right around noon. Transportation is provided. So if the student needs transportation, we do transport them to Steel Center and then again home from Steel Center. And then just also the Steel Center program counts for 3 electives for students. So like we said before, we still recommend students to go ahead and fill out the elective side of the sheet. And we have that just in case they choose not to do Steel Center at one point. But the Steel Center courses would be for 3 credits, and then they schedule their core courses for the other 4 credits in the morning. Now, the next 2 slides just explain the application process for Steel Center. So if you have maybe had a student that's an older sibling and have already gone through the Steel Center process, everything changed this year on how a student should apply. If you're brand new, perfect. It is all done online. So Steel Center gives you different opportunities on their website. I think there's 5 different spots on their website where you can click and get the application and download the application. The first step is to do just that, go on their website, click the application, and start to have the student fill out their application and their demographic information. On there, it will also ask for the student to go ahead and choose which program they are most interested in, and they'll have them rank it. So they do ask that a student list 3 programs that they would be interested in. So similar to how our electives work, Skill Center's programs, they fill up senior to junior to sophomore. So some of their programs, as you can imagine, are a little bit at a higher demand than others. And so those will fill up first. So they do ask that a student fills out 3 of the programs just in case they don't get their first choice. And so that's step 1. And then on the next page is step 2. So once the student has submitted, so they filled out the application, they submitted their application, that then comes to a portal to Mrs. Jacora Lewis and myself. And so we jump on the portal. We review the application to ensure that everything is correct on it. And then there is a portion that we need to complete. So they'll ask for your transcript, your current grades, but then they'll also ask for things like your current attendance record. They'll also ask for any test scores. So do we have a PSSA test score for you or a Keystone test score for you? And then they also ask if a student has a 504 plan or an IEP. If they have any of that material, then we do forward that on to Steel Center with the application. And then all of that is reviewed, and then you would hear back from Steel Center if you're accepted into the program, and then what program within the center you got accepted into. The next couple of slides we touched a little bit on it, early release from school. So if you're a senior, there are 2 ways to have the opportunity to have an early release from school. It is going to either be the work release for employment or dual enrollment. So again, a student who is interested in the early work release, they do need to have 20 complete credits by the end of their junior year. They have to be passing all of their classes needed for graduation, have received a proficient in the Keystone exams, and then we do look at their disciplinary record to make sure that they have not received any suspensions on there. And if all of that checks out, then Mrs. Jacora Lewis will talk about what specifically they need for the work release, and then also with the dual enrollment, there are specific requirements with that as well for seniors.
These are really good programs. A lot of our seniors utilize them, these programs. So work release, the student has to have at least a job that is 15 or more hours a week. So it's very nice. We usually get the information out. There's a form that needs to be completed, and it would be at end of summer, beginning of fall, because we want to make sure the students have the job, the same job, and that job will employ them throughout the school year. We then keep a file of that paperwork, and that's approved by parents, the owner of the establishment, the boss, and Dr. Palmer. Then we keep a file of the work schedule in our office and also the pay stubs on a monthly basis. So a lot of students are utilizing it. If they have the 20 credits, then we schedule them for the 5 credits that they need. Then they can stay for lunch and then leave, or they don't have to stay for lunch. Dual enrollment is nice if students want to accrue some college credits while they're still in high school. We have a partnership with CCAC, and we work with CCAC. Students can attend classes on CCAC's campus or online through the school. We can give them, open up their schedule a little bit, allow them to leave to go in person, or allow them to have an additional study hall at school so that they can work on those classes. The classes do not replace our core classes like our English or math or science. They replace our elective courses. And these college courses are not on our transcript. There's a separate transcript that's provided by CCAC. Very nice because these classes can transfer into the majority of colleges. Just have to make sure when you're doing the dual enrollment that you're checking with the CCAC transfer counselor to make sure that the college that you are attending in the fall will accept those credits. So it is very nice. Mrs. Litek's going to talk a little bit about our meetings with you.
So if all students could remember, so we went through the process. You are with your families and you're filling out your course selection sheet. If you could have that complete by Wednesday, April 7th, that would be great. You're keeping that sheet though. So whether you're in person or you're on Edgenuity, you are keeping that sheet to yourself. Mrs. Shakora Luce and I have a separate sheet that we have in our office that have the recommendations from your teachers. And then when we meet, we'll go over your sheet and our sheet and combine it to our sheet as the final sheet to be handed in to administration. So we will meet with students both virtually and in person. And even if you're an in-person student, we might be meeting with you virtually on Fridays as well, to hopefully try to avoid, any test or anything that you might have during the week. The biggest thing is the students need to be checking their student email. So that is how we will be corresponding with the students. So when we schedule, we'll be scheduling through Google Meets, and we'll schedule it right there and include the student on there and send that email to the student. And the sessions will be about 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes long. And we'll just go over with them the course request on their end, and then also the course recommendation on our end. And we'll go over how many credits the student has earned to date to make sure that they're on track for graduation. And then lastly, we'll just discuss with them like any post-secondary plans that they might have. And if they do have an idea about post-secondary, how can we help them achieve that goal and what do we need to do to get there? If they have no idea what they want to do, then that just sparks a separate conversation of trying to get them thinking in that direction a little bit.
Well, Mr. Harrington, we're finished with our presentation. I think we can open it up to questions.
Okay, if anyone has questions, you can add it to the chat or you can raise your hand if you're logged into the Google Meet. We do have one in the chat. If students were registered in French 1 and then wasn't offered anymore, do they have to take another language? And if so, will that be considered as 2 years of language?
That's a great question.
That is a great question.
So did they took French 1?
That's what it
Yes,
sounded
like. They were registered at French 1 and then it wasn't offered. So do they have to take another language? And if so, will it be considered 2 years?
There is no graduation requirement for South Park High School for foreign language. So just that they're just elective courses. If you're thinking about moving forward with a 4-year school, it's recommended, not required at the school, at the collegiate level, to take 2 or more years of a foreign language, just recommended. But they usually do recommend it being in the same course. So that would be like a Spanish 1, Spanish 2. But again, it's never prohibited a student from attending a college if they did not take a foreign language. Hope that brings some clarification.
That was good.
Okay, I do not have anything else in the chat. I don't see anyone with a hand raised. So maybe just follow up with the emails with you if anyone has questions. I know we have a couple people on the phone. If you wanted to unmute your phone to ask a question, you can do so now. Other than that, I don't have anything else at the minute.
Okay, well, we thank you so much for attending. Thank you for attending on this beautiful evening. We really appreciate it. And please do not hesitate to reach out to us with any questions. We'll be more than happy to help you.
Thank you. And thank you to Mr. Harrigan for helping us out with the
Yes.
presentation today.
Thank you so much. Thank you.